folks. This is Herb Stevenson. We're revealing the unmarked doors of life, which we call natural passages. I've been on the road and doing some teaching coaching to some various organizations, and one of the things I realized uh, uh, that in today's world, everything has gotten so, let's just say, frenetic. And I'm not even saying just what's happening in the political situation with the divisiveness. It goes beyond that. It goes into the fact that that energy is permeating a lot of organizations, and we feel very frenetic, or I like to refer to it, a constant state of wobble. And so one of the things that I'd like to talk to you today is that can help you. This is whether it's business or personal or otherwise. Is how do you pay attention? And a lot of people will sit to me and say, well, what do you mean by that? Um, so I'll give you an example. Most people only pay attention to the thoughts in their mind. So when we talk about how well we listen to somebody in a conversation, at about 20% of the conversation, we start listening to our thoughts. So we're not listening to them. We're listening to the apes, or whatever you wish to say, that we have put into play, whether it be for survival, for thriving, or what we perceive as success. So one of the ways that helps us is to what are you attending, and doing that on a regular basis. You've heard me say in prior uh, podcasts that what you're attending to is is basically what you create, and that listening is a very active process. So what I do today is I want to share with you some ideas that might support you in getting to through the situations that we seem to be going through right now. So one of the comments or quotes that's frequented by Buddha is, "Be where you are, otherwise you'll miss your life." That's why I'm referring to is we're not mindful, our mind is full. And as a result, what ends up happening, we do miss our life because we're too busy listening to our thoughts. And how do we conjure or react, respond, etc., to what's going on in our life and what's happening around us? And so I'm going to spend the time basically is trying to indicate to you that attending to what you're attending will be able to actually change your effectiveness and reduce the wobble in your life. So I often talk about presence, and attention, or what you're attending to, is how we come into presence. So attention is how we come into presence. In other words, engaged in various ways to experience and make meaning of those experiences. So we have trained our minds so well, we think we are attending to what's in front of us. But if you can sit there and just with soft eyes look at somebody when you're having a conversation and just ignore the thoughts and listen to what they're doing, I guarantee you the quality of the conversations, when they go up, the attentiveness of the other person to you goes up, which makes it a much more highly effective process. So another way of saying is, if we're scattered, dispersed, and distracted, then that's how we are, how we come into the presence of what I call of our absence. We're absent to ourselves and generally to others. Many of you have heard this. If you're in any kind of relationships, if you're accused of not listening, it's true. We say, well, no, I'm listening. I heard you, which generally we know is not true. But that happens frequently. And when we just simply sit with the other person, we have a more intimate and effective relationship. So if we're gathered and focused, attention collects us in our being in that moment, and so doing brings forth a more integrated manifestation, or a sense of self. And in that sense of self, we find that there's a quietness. We're not worried about the frenetic energy that's out there. What we're worried about, or what we're focusing our attention on, is ourself. So in other ways, I'm focused on myself being fully present, and in so doing, I am fully present to them. Another way of saying this is, if I'm fully focused in this moment, I see and hear with my all-being. Therefore, I see and hear them with my all-being. And the interesting part is that's contagious. That person will understand that, and without words will begin to do it. So attending to the presence of what is present or essence of what is present is the issue for us, and most of us have gotten away from. Our general process for most people has been to attend to how do I respond, how do I react in order to feel safe or to thrive. So attention focuses our being away from doing. So attention is essentially related to the presence of being. Attention is my presence in the world that leads to the doorway of my being. These might sound like spiritual or woo-woo phrases, but they are not. They are key understandings of how to be more effective in everything you do, every relationship, everything at work. So on a constant basis, what I do is I ask the question, to what do I attend to? And the question is it my mind and all the thoughts, or the reality of what's sitting right in front of me? And the more I do that, the better off I am. So attention is taking possession of the mind, you take possession of your mind in a clear and vivid form of one out of what may seem several simultaneously possible objects or trains of thought, which often happens. We may be weighing in our mind, what do I want to do this way, that way? And instead of doing that, focus only on concentrating constantly in this moment of what am I attending to that's sitting in front of me. My effectiveness to write books and the various things that I do is because I've trained my mind to let go of the thoughts of often the second guessing, and I focus only on what am I doing in that moment, and that focused attention is what supports me to get it done. So to what are we attending is another way of saying attention is characterized by focusing as well as our interest. What's my interest and how am I going to focus on it? Now, if you have in the unconscious in the background playing the thoughts of how do I thrive, survive, get through this mess, whatever it is, if you slow down enough to look at what am I attending to in the background, there's something that's driving how you are using your thought processes. So you can be attracted to anything. We are called upon to understand the world. So when we focus our attention, if it's in our head, we're not out here and we're not relating and we're also not being as effective. So what I like to tell people is if we realize our purpose is to experience and learn, not just simply cope, we have a much richer life and a much richer experience. So to what are we attending is attention thus assists us in the social construction of meaning, organizing reality according to a matrix of interest, and we create our reality. That's pretty much how the mind works. The question is do you want the mind to rule you, or do you want your presence to rule what you do and how you orient? So the aim of, I call spiritual attention, which is your presence, is that we cease to be a passive so as to become an active agent of our own attention. I often refer to it as many people are caught in active inertia, which is they're caught in a repetitive loop of thoughts that have been successful until they're no longer useful. And usually when that happens, people go through an identity crisis or midlife crisis, they like to refer it. I call it a midlife correction. It's a midlife correction because finally the tapes in your mind have worn out and you realize they're useless, and you're better off just to burn the tape and get around to really looking at what is it that I want to pay attention to. So active attention means we are learning how to control and eventually eliminate our automatic, habitual, or habit determined patterns of thought in daily encounters, as well as if you meditate or prayer. Meditation, one of the interesting things is it trains us to eventually for the mind to shut up and realize it's okay just to be quiet. And I find that when I do this, one of the questions that's frequently asked to me is, you're so attentive. And my clients realize I'm very present. And I point out to them, that's the whole purpose. If I'm fully attentive to working with you, the result will be is more likely is we're going to connect in a way that's going to be more effective. And that doesn't matter what I'm teaching or whether I'm coaching a CEO or anybody else. And within that, you have to deal with a certain part of our own ego, which is we struggle with our own humility. We're afraid to be embarrassed. So humility is attending only to the moment and not assuming anything. And in that, we realize our ignorance of, I don't know what they're going to say. And if I'm really truthful about the situation, I'll probably respond better if I just simply fully wait and make sure I understand what they're asking or saying to me or what the situation is. So attention consists of suspending our thought, leaving it detached, empty, and ready to be penetrated by the moment. And I understand that's difficult because I've worked with a variety of people in a variety of walks of life and asked them to just sit for 5 minutes in silence. And even if their mind just continues to rattle, just sit in it. And often they'll say, I get too anxious. I can't, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. And this is where we've gotten into this issue that the work ethic of the society is that we're conditioned that we have to be busy, we have to be active. And we fail to understand that the time you take for yourself is say, I'm worth being invested in. I'm worth investing in myself, giving myself time and energy to be able to focus and get clear about who I am. So being in the moment is above all. Our thoughts should be empty, waiting, not seeking anything, but ready to receive in its naked truth, the essence that is to penetrate us by being with whoever or whatever it is we're attending to. Many of you have recognized that in the years past, I have, still, I get up early in the morning and I take pictures of the sunrise because I wait until it almost feels like whatever I'm looking at touches me and I take a picture. And that's what I mean by being empty. It's taking in the beauty of that in the moment, fully experiencing it without any other thought. And it's a much better, for me, much better sense of experience. So what this does for us is we begin to realize we have needless worry. Um, when you're fully present, you will become less concerned with what other people think of you when you realize really how seldom they actually are thinking about you. How many times have you had all these thoughts and these contingency plans and counter plans because somebody you think somebody's done someone wrong, and you end up playing off that over and over. And the issue is that's rarely the case. The truth is most people are also already too busy in their own mind paying attention to that, to be paying attention to you. They may be telling a story about you, but the interesting part is that stops when you're fully present with them. So what happens is the restoration of presence, being in the moment, uh, is it rather interesting because when you stop the treadmill and the perpetual loop, I call it a do loop without an end statement of thoughts, you end up begin to restore peace to any situation, regardless of the underlying conditions. Doesn't mean it's not going to you're not going to have be impacted. It just means all the stories and emotions that you've been triggered based on past experiences no longer apply because you recognize that's not here, that's then. What's here now is what I need to be paying attention to. So when working within presence, it's never a responsibility to figure things out. You do not have to use your mind to think about how to undo a negative situation. Instead, you simply acknowledge what's going on. And once you have heard everything that you need to hear about it, you'll know exactly what's the appropriate action. So all you need to do is remain present to dissolve the persistent energetic patterns holding everything in place. And we all have them. I mean, that's just being a human. So the natural state for us is in presence, often referred to as still point, 0 point. And the more you practice that, the more you begin to realize you don't need to work so hard. You just have to be present. So oftentimes when the underlying energies are freed up, which is all of our thought patterns, take so much energy because they're running 24/7. We return to the still point, and in most the still point is that place where we are simply quiet and present to ourselves, and it begins to make all the difference in the world for us. So Rumi had a comment that said, "There's a voice that doesn't use words. Listen." And that means quit listening to yourself. And when we actually recognize and get settled enough to realize that we're only paying attention 90% of the time to our own thoughts, and we're failing to realize we're the ones supposed to be in charge, we start to slow down enough to really gain an understanding of the situation. So I'm going to read something to you I developed over the years. I was influenced by Kierkegaard. He had something similar to this. I think he called it listening to God. But what it is how I have learned to focus my attention to be fully present in the moment. And it's called hearing God. As my presence became more attentive and inward, I consciously realized my mind had less and less to say. I became completely silent and started listening to the inviting emptiness within. I suddenly understood that praying is being, not merely being silent, but being deeply, patiently, persistently, intimately within myself until I was become the presence of what is present. Prayer, which is presence, involves silence and being fully in the silence, the essence, while unwavering, relentlessly waiting in naked awareness until I heard the deep knowing within my own heart as a manifesting presence that I am the prayer. This is tied to many spiritual traditions, which is our presence matters, our essence matters, each one of us matters. And when we begin to realize that our presence is contagious, if we're fully present in the moment, we've shut our mind off, the interesting part, the other person that we're working with will do the same thing. And it changes the quality of your entire life. So I want you to ponder that. I know for a lot of people, they think it's woo-woo, and it's not. Right now, in today's period where we are dramatically struggling with finding our center, many people worried about what's going on. The more centered you are, the more present you are to yourself, and less attending to those things that make you absent, which is the runaway thoughts in your head. The more effective you become, the calmer you become, and you'll know exactly what to do to take care of yourself. So I hope this is helpful because I use this across everything I do. Many of you know I teach a variety of classes, but besides business, I also teach spiritual classes and a variety of things. And I am able to do that because I'm present to myself in every venue, in every situation. That doesn't change. And when you realize you have more capacity than you presently think, the impact is that you begin to truly live your life versus live your thoughts. So if this is helpful, I'm Herb Stevenson. This is Natural Passages, Revealing Unmarked Doors of Life. And I wish you a good day. And if you're looking for coaching, insights, I wrote the book, Coaching, Personal, Transpersonal, and Liminal, which is a more advanced approach to understanding presence and how it fits into coaching. I've also written and it'll be published the next month probably, called Bare Attention, Coaching at the Point of Contact. It's full of exercises, things to help you be fully present and improve your coaching capacities. I wish you well. Have a good day. Until I see you again. Thanks much.